And we're live. What's up, guys? Nick Script, P2W Fantasy Podcast, doing a live stream here today. Just put Mila, my daughter, down for a nap and figured instead of just mess around and watch TV and, not capitalize on my time, why not do a live underdog draft? We have the puppy, which is a competition for $5, which I like because it's not obviously a high investment. It goes pretty quick. It kind of feeds that want to go and draft, and it's a big competition. It's got a bunch of prizes. So want to run through a live one here today, and I'm at the 11th spot, which is actually one of my money spots. I feel like, but we'll see how the actual draft pans out because I feel like what we want to happen and what actually does happen, two very different things sometimes. So we'll see how the board falls to us. So. Right away, Jonathan Taylor off the board as the 1. McCaffrey seems pretty chalk right there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a Cooper Kupp right here at 3, unless we get an auto drafter. But yeah, if you are not familiar with Underdog, basically it's best ball. I love Justin Jefferson. It's a great pick. It's a best ball site where you can draft fantasy teams, and best ball basically means they take your best fantasy scores on a weekly basis, and that's your scores for the week. So you never have to set a lineup. You don't have to pick up waivers or drop guys, nothing like that. It's completely hands off. And what I like about these two is that a lot of them are pretty low investment. I paid $5 for this one. I would have wasted $5 on, I don't know, something at the grocery store later on today. Why not go and try to do one of these drafts? So we'll see how things fall. 11 spot, I'm going to go running backs here. Likely going to go Cook or Swift, depending on what falls to me. Unless both don't fall to me, then I'll be super unhappy about it. But I typically like to stack both of those guys. So if I'm able to right here, I would absolutely love that. If not, we'll see what else we can kind of pivot to. But Diggs and CeeDee Lamb, I think CeeDee Lamb there in the first round. It's pretty interesting. Devante Adams. So kind of got to play the board. I want Cook and Swift. Maybe I have Swift higher this year, so maybe I should grab Swift, but I feel like there's a chance he can come back to me. So we'll go with a guy with the higher ADP, take Dalvin Cook, who I think is a guy that can finish as the overall running back 1. There's, health is going to be key for him, but he's been so close to that in the past. And there's Kelsey, and exactly what I wanted to happen because I love that stack. Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift. Hot takes, maybe spicy, but I have Swift as 3 and Dalvin Cook as 4 for this coming season. So to get them, as my first 2 picks, I'm solidifying my running back room, which I don't mind to do at all. And we'll see what goes from there. Some surprises early on, first round. I think maybe CeeDee Lamb was a surprise. I think Adams might slip out of first rounds closer to the season. We'll see. Other than that, pretty chalk with these 3 guys going fairly close together. I'd have them ranked a little bit different, but I do have Justin Jefferson as the best option there. I've actually got my hands on 2 shares of Justin Jefferson this offseason, one in a keeper league and one in my home redraft league that I just did not too long ago. So as of right now, looking okay with 2 running backs that I'm really high on for this coming season, Cook and Swift. I love that start. For this competition, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 1 flex, 10 bench, and the grand prize here is $200,000. So I just, I'm spending $5 to potentially have a much bigger return on investment, even down to 41st through 50th place. It's $1,000. There's just stacks and stacks of prizes. I can double my money if I finish 6,210. So I think there's, the odds of you doing that, because there's already 223,560 entrants as of right now. This competition is probably going to fill up pretty quick. This is the puppy 3. There's already been a handful of the puppies floating out there. So let's get an update here. After me, Debo, we got some news on an extension and the news that he's got a rushing incentive. Aaron Jones, like that pick. Joe Mixon kind of fell. I feel like Joe Mixon to go after Aaron Jones and maybe some of those wide receivers might be surprising to some people. Mark Andrews in the second makes sense. Really like Barkley this year. Makes sense. Evans, Hill, Chubb, and Javonte. So I think maybe I ignited the running back run because I stacked two. And if you look at this guy at the what is this, the 6th spot, he also stacked two. And so did the guy wrapping all the way around on the 2 spot. So maybe I kind of started a trend there with stacking running backs, and people are playing their boards. So it's kind of important with this too. I try to stress this pretty often is play your board. So we might go into this thinking that I can wait on a certain position or I'm going to be able to do certain things at a certain spot. But we see all the time, whether it's best ball, redraft, dynasty, people kind of go off the wall sometimes with going far from ADP, even early on, in reaching on guys they want. So sometimes that opens up some value for you if you're picking after certain guys that maybe reach. But yeah, so we just kind of, that's a big thing I try to stress all the time. My home league draft this past weekend, not knocking the guy, like do what you want to do, be spicy in your drafts. Don't want to ever knock somebody out in the way that they draft. It's not, especially if I'm in the league, if you're drafting in a certain way that I never would, cool. But some guy in our draft this past weekend, he was taking guys rounds and rounds and rounds higher than the ADP showed. He was reaching on a lot of guys, and that just created different values across the board. So sometimes things fall in your lap, and you have a guy that kind of drafts off the wall. Your home league drafts, you might have like a Josh Allen go in the first round, and that pushes other guys down the board. So always play the board, and you see how things go. So Keenan Allen, A.J. Brown, 2 guys that many would see as top 12 guys for the coming season. Mike Williams, I put out a tweet today about just extreme upside. And the thing about best ball is you're going to have your best possible lineup on a weekly basis. So when he has his low points, Mike Williams, then you are able to hopefully have somebody that you took later on in the draft just take over that spot, that starting spot in your roster. But when he does hit and he has those 30-point fantasy weeks, then it's worth it to have him on your roster. Would I have taken him that high? I guess it depends who else is available, which I guess we can see right now because we're getting closer and closer to my turn. I like Michael Pittman, who just went. Do I want to take another running back? I don't know if I want to do all that. We'll see who falls to me, though. Wide receivers, I do like DJ Moore if he does fall to me. Travis Etienne's a guy I like. So I took Dalvin. I took Swift. I don't feel the need to go quarterback right here. Running back, let's wait. Wide receivers got kind of thin because we are at the end of the draft, so I had to wait a bunch of picks. Tight ends, I don't feel the need to take at this specific pick. I like DJ Moore at the spot that I'm grabbing him at. And we'll see. I might go a second wide receiver. Might need to. And then let's see what I kind of fear that if I don't go another running back, that it's going to get super, super thin, but maybe not. Let's see. ETN and Hall would be guys I think about right here. Tight end, Waller, Kittle. I'm going to pivot away from those two. Marquise, McLaurin, Gabe Davis. Can't believe Gabe Davis is over Deontay Johnson and Jerry Jeudy. I'm going to go, and I got a lot of them. I'm going to go Deontay Johnson. I'm going to pair Deontay Johnson with DJ Moore, really high in Deontay Johnson. I think he's still going to command a very high target share. The thing is with him, the big asterisk right now is that I think he's kind of holding out. So could I potentially get burned by this pick? Sure. But at the same time, I think it's early and things are going to get settled. All right. So that's my start. Swift, Cook, DJ, and Deontay. And again, a lot of people might fear that Deontay pick. Maybe I could have went running back or something, but I'm not super concerned that he's not going to play this coming season. I think it's just a matter of if Deontay Johnson is going to get things settled out or not. I put out a tweet, got a lot of likes. I said, trade him to Chicago. I would love that. Imagine Justin Fields with Deontay Johnson as the 1, Darnell Mooney as a 2, Cole Kmet at tight end. I would love that, but do like Jerry Jeudy a lot. Gabe Davis, I'll never understand why he's going where he is. I'm just going to say it right now. The guy had a great playoffs, and he had like a game or two during the regular season that was pretty good. Really couldn't get on the field much before that. Never was like this big time prospect or anything, but for him to go above McLaurin and Judy, I just don't comprehend it at all. Doesn't make sense to me. I love this right here. ETN and Hall. I was thinking about taking one of them. Maybe I should have, but I figured, I got 2 stud running backs. I wanted 2 stud wide receivers too, because I feel like by the time it comes back with the wide receivers going, I might, my wide receiver 2 would be fairly weak. So I'll probably just keep stacking these 2 positions, to be honest. I think I'll probably just keep going for this specific draft. I'll probably just keep going running back, wide receiver, and then we'll see how the quarterbacks and the tight ends are being taken. But typically, it varies league to league. You're in leagues where quarterbacks, there's runs of them, and then they go quicker than you thought. Then there's other leagues that they all want to be maybe the smart guy and fade the quarterback position. But that, it just creates, an opportunity for you to get guys later in the draft that maybe shouldn't have been there by, X round in comparison to other drafts you're being in. So again, I'll probably say it like 1,000 times in this, like play your board. You can kind of see now, like after my, where was I? After my DJ Moore pick so far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm counting. Yep, that's me. Counting stupid. All right. After my Deontay Johnson pick, 1, 2, 3 wide receivers pretty much go straight away afterwards. So we had a few running backs mixed in. I feel like I'm looking at this wrong. I am looking at this wrong. Let's do it again. After my Deontay Johnson pick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide receivers go off the board. So again, thinking to myself here, if I would have went ETN or Hall, maybe I would have really missed out on that, potential wide receiver 2 for my team by the time it came back. So I feel like, maybe that's something I could consider doing different next time, is just grabbing 3 stud running backs early and then just like grabbing all the best value wide receivers possible. But I don't hate this stack right here for the wide receiver position, especially taking him earlier than his ADP, especially because I feel like his ADP is being affected by him, not reaching a deal with Pittsburgh right now. And I'm pretty comfortable with Deontay Johnson going anywhere, if there was a world where he gets traded or something like that. I'm not sure how likely that is exactly, but we'll see. I guess we'll see. Godwin's the guy I'm avoiding. I'm just nervous that he's not going to be 100% for a while and maybe not really pushed into a good workload until later in the season, especially because I feel like they want him 100%. Darnell Mooney, close to Metcalf and Godwin. I feel like Metcalf fell pretty far. Deep, the other thing, I feel like we overemphasize some situations, because for DK to go after like Bateman and I guess you can talk about Marquise Brown, but after Bateman and after Gabriel Davis, I don't know about all that. I think we overemphasize situations sometimes. I'd love Brandon Cooks if he fell to me. We'll see if he does. If not, I'll probably grab Monty. Maybe I need to grab Monty. Nah, I'm all right. I would like Brandon Cooks, sir. Amon-Ra, Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, Michael Thomas, Elijah Moore's stud, obviously. He took Monty, who I thought about taking, so that makes my decision easy. Go with Brandon Cooks, who I absolutely love. For 2022, we had a good connection with Davis Mills. I posted their averages together, and it was solid. And I like Brandon Cooks at that spot. See how far he actually fell. Pick 59. Got him a couple spots ahead of ADP. So wide receiver, do I keep pounding that? I think I'm going to grab a running back. But the thing is, let's go to thought I had my rankings. So to check those out. Don't want to time out. I'm going to grab, man, it's a tough decision. I'm gonna go Mitchell, and I know the concerns with Mitchell. I'm trying to see where I actually have them ranked. I had Jacobs ahead of Mitchell, so that's for redraft. Maybe for best ball, my mentality for Mitchell could be that last season when healthy, he had all these big games. I think he averaged like in the games. I write these stats down and I almost can always remember them when I like say them more than once. But I'm pretty sure I said something along the lines of in the games he played 60% or more of the snaps, he averaged like 16 fantasy points. Mitchell was getting a ton of games over 100 rushing yards. And I feel like for best ball purposes, I already have my two stud running backs in Cook and Swift. I think there's upside in the rushing touchdowns and high rushing yards department for Elijah Mitchell. So maybe that's my justification of him over Josh Jacobs, which I guess I had higher ranked, but it is what it is with that specifically. Okay, so Dobbins went soon after, so it looks like Jacobs is still floating out there. Elijah Moore, one of my guys for the season. I didn't want to bite too early on that. It's probably unnecessary to do so. Michael Thomas, if he's 100%, I'm sure could be a steal for some people. We'll see what's going on, though. I don't know if this guy's he's probably like me making big-time decisions. I often wonder if, like, anybody else that is drafting is, like, streaming while they're doing it, too, because I'm obviously not the only guy that streams while they draft. But I wonder sometimes, like, hey, who else is doing this? And are they in this draft right now? That'd be pretty sweet. Love Jalen Hurts this year. I'm super high on Jalen Hurts. He's my quarterback 3 for the year. So, again, it's a spicy take, and it's a take that could be far off, could be spot on. Maybe I'm too low on Jalen Hurts this year. Burrow right after, so I wonder if we started a quarterback run with this. And, sometimes you got to hop on the runs, but also, like, if you're passing on Jacobs, who continues to just go, like, I almost took Jacobs here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, not even 9. I mean, if this guy passes, that means 9 picks, he's being passed on. So, yeah, 9 picks later for a guy that I almost took back when I had my last pick. So, again, if these guys go on quarterback runs or there's like a pairing of, wide receivers that go and it creates a third one, just playing the board. Like if I needed a wide receiver, and thought that Jacobs was falling too far, sometimes a guy can only fall so much. So many picks we got. We got a lot of picks left till it gets back to me. See how deep we are at certain positions. So quarterback, I still need. And, Trey Lance, super high upside. I feel like he won't fall to me. Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford. I think we all are comfortable saying our top 10 quarterbacks for the year. Derek Carr, I thought as my quarterback 10. Still got a lot of quarterbacks, so I'm not really worried. Even if I want to grab like a Tua and then some sleepers. Watson is interesting too if he only misses 6 weeks, just specifically talking about fantasy. Running back, Gibson's another guy. I talked about a guy at my home league draft. How far are we going to let guys fall before it's too much? When people say they are out on guys, I think sometimes we forget that out does not always mean like out at all costs. It just means out at their cost. So, for instance, all these people, it's become common saying like, I'm out on Antonio Gibson. Maybe I'm out on him too at current cost, but if he falls, a handful of spots beyond where he should go, in my opinion, then of course I'm going to take him. I'm just out at the cost. So keep that in mind when you see these analysts talking about like being out at cost, because I think too often we think that it's out at all costs when it's just at their ADP. But he's still sitting there. CEH, big question marks with him. Rashad Penny and Chase Edmonds are 2 sleeper running backs I really do like. I wonder if I want to just keep stacking running back and wide receiver. I wonder how far I can actually take that before it burns me. So I have to check out the tight ends. I got some guys I wouldn't mind taking. But who out of this group? I feel like there's a bunch of gross wide receivers right there. So I'm glad I got 3 guys that I feel like are studs. Yeah, wide receivers got super thin in this draft. That's the interesting thing here. So, Don't really need to take Brady right there. Hawkinson, Goddard, Dawson Knox, Zach Ertz. I like Zach Ertz the best at value, though, so maybe not right this second. Wide receivers, I don't know about all that. Let's go. Let's just swing for the ceiling here and go Rashad Penny. I think he's going to win the job or hold the job early on. I don't think they're going to rush Ken Walker the third into volume. Obviously, he went crazy at the end of last season. Is he going to be that efficient? Probably not, but we'll see how the draft kind of plays out from here. 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs. Almost wonder if I go Chase Edmonds here. I think people are really emphasizing the wide receiver position right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's almost like, do I go a fifth running back here? I might just like fuck around and do that fifth running back and just like fix everything else later because I can take that. He went, so I'm not. Sometimes the draft just sorts it out for ourselves. These quarterbacks just sitting there. Let's make a decision on wide receiver. So Treylon Burks, Chris Olave, I think are very interesting right here. Lockett, Woods, going too far down. All right, I went Burks. Haven't been super, super high in Burks, in all honesty, as a prospect or in my rankings. So why do I take him there? I think that if he is able to have the big games that he did at Arkansas and break off some bigger plays, maybe if it's not as consistent as I think it's going to be, I think it might be worth it for this format, especially seeing, rookie wide receivers sometimes take some time to develop. I think he might be more on that boat than people want to buy into. So I'm not out on Treylon Burks, but I feel like he might be one of those guys that maybe starts like off okay and is really a second half of the year type of wide receiver that gives us more of what we want. So if that's the case, I think it's worth it in best ball because then I'm just getting his best weeks. But I juggled him and Chris Olave at the time. And my hesitation with Olave is just, seeing Michael Thomas looking like he's back, having Jarvis Landry as well. I still really like Chris Olave. I think he is a very good talent. I think talent-wise, maybe you can argue his talent and what he did through college might have been more impressive for more than just last season than Burks. I don't know. Maybe that's more of a reach, but I think Burks has more of a chance to have a more demanded role in his offense versus Olave if everybody's healthy. So if Woods is 100%, and then if the other side, if Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry are 100%, maybe Burks is more demanded. So there's my venting to myself of why I just did that. See if there's any surprises here. I like Kareem Hunt. Damien Harris, man. There's talk that it's Ramondre season. So interesting to see him go without hesitation, before. A lot of people in my home league draft were actually fading Damien Harris. I do like Kareem Hunt. Talked about him yesterday on like a thread about what he's brought to fantasy in the weeks he was healthy last season, what he did in 2020. I think we always look at Hunt as an unsexy pick. I wanted Ertz. Damn it. I feel like I'm going to be fucked that tight end. No, maybe not. We always look at guys like Hunt and say, oh, well, he's like the second guy in his system, but he was averaging like 14, almost 15 touches in the weeks he played last season, with some weeks having like 17 touches, if I'm not mistaken. So he gets a lot of work for being, not the primary used back in his system. I feel like I'm going to have to go tight end on this next one because otherwise I might be screwed later on. Let's see our numbers here. So we got 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers. So I just only been playing those 2 positions. Do I grab my my tight end and my quarterback here? Maybe that's a consideration of mine, and then I'm done and can continue to pound the running back and the wide receiver position. We'll see. We shall see how this falls. So Stevenson went there. So let's see the gap between him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spot difference between Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, favoring Damien Harris. Interesting stuff. Interesting to see these two go next to each other, too. I love Tyler Boyd, but you got to figure one guy is the second option in his offense, and the other guy is probably the first. I'm sorry, the third. I'm tripping as I'm scrolling here. Lockett number 2 probably, and then Boyd's number 3. Interesting, I guess. You got Joe Burrow versus some not so hot quarterbacks at the end of the day. Running back wise, Singletary's interesting. Not sure why James Cook goes above him. I think he is interesting. Wide receiver wise, I already took Burks, so I'm not going to look at Woods there. I'm on the clock. Let's go and grab my homer pick, Cole Kmet, who I think is going to have a breakout season. So I talked about this before. My strategy for drafting tight ends this year is Pitts. If not, then pivot down the board to Schultz. If not, then pivot down the board to Ertz. If not, then pivot down the board to Cole Kmet. That's my tight end strategy for the year. Then I'm going to grab Kirk Cousins, who I got in my home league draft. Never really been a huge Kirk Cousins drafter, but I feel like I've been fading quarterback more than I should lately. I think that's one thing I need to probably change, in all honesty, is yeah. So I'm getting some messages on my phone and I'm being nosy. Yes, that's what I was going to say. I think that's one thing I'm going to change. I think going into some of these drafts is maybe start taking quarterback a little bit earlier and focus on those guys with the rushing upside. So, I can grab some upside later, maybe with Daniel Jones' legs or touchdown potential with Winston. Fields got the rushing ability too. I think he's going to have a much better season than people are giving him credit for. But I've kind of been fading quarterback the last couple drafts in best ball and in redraft, and I feel like I need to maybe not do that as much because I feel like it's worth it to take a guy like Jalen Hurts, who's not being drafted as a top 5 quarterback, but can 100% be a top 5 quarterback. So there's some strategy related to that. Let's get this board back up. Melvin Gordon, Patterson, Ken Walker. There goes Ken Walker. And then Claypool. So Garrett Wilson's another guy that I feel like can produce higher than being drafted. And it's interesting to see with the news on James Washington being banged up that Tolbert goes before Woods and Wilson. That's too spicy for me. It's too spicy for me. I think he's got a chance to be the wide receiver 2 for the Cowboys until Gallup comes back. So that might be half the season. But is he the second option in the offense for the passing game? I don't know if I'm sold on that. I think it's Dalton Schultz. I mean, he's not. I mean, decent prospect profile. He was productive. Didn't get drafted super high, but to go ahead of Woods and Wilson, first round pick Wilson and Chase Claypool, I think it's too spicy for me. You got to be careful with the camp news sometimes. Or maybe, this guy who drafts him said, I already was all in on Tolbert, then go and get your guys. Talk about that all the time as well, especially in best ball, because it kind of sucks that I've seen some of my guys low on the ADP when I'm scrolling. I'm like, all right, they'll be there. And then it gets to my pick and they were taking like 10 picks earlier than I thought they were going to go. So again, ADP only goes so far until you are actually live in a draft. So let's go back to our team. Kirk Cousins got him stacked with Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, running back Elijah Mitchell, Rashad Penny, wide receivers DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks, Treylon Burks. So definitely need some more wide receivers. How many picks do we actually have left? Decent amount, or let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 picks left, I think. I feel like I always miscount that. I feel like they're like hiding some boxes at the end. Check on the availability of certain positions. So make sure if you only draft 2 quarterbacks or 2 tight ends, you check that bye week. So obviously I'm not taking anybody with week 7, which I don't see any guys. I do like Justin Fields, dual threat ability. I think he's got fantasy upside. We've seen glimpses of it last year. There he goes. I do like Tua. Watson's interesting because he should be suspended for 6 weeks. Cousins has a bye week 7. He should be back week 7 if all else lines up. So interesting consideration there. Damien Pierce, Henderson, I like. They said he's fighting Cam Akers for a job, and it might be a committee. We'll see. I like Hines. Potential for PPR upside. This is half-point PPR. Algier might win the job. I need wide receivers pretty bad, though. See, Tim Patrick's flown right there, but he just tore his ACL, so you got to be careful with camp news. I think you can, right here, you got to make sure that you click on the box. If there's a red dot, it means there's some news. And I have a feeling I know I'm going to go and grab right here because I feel like he, out of this group here, he's got Myers just went. I'm going to go back-to-back Patriots wide receivers with Devante Parker, who I've talked about a lot recently, who's shown us in the past when he's healthy his fantasy upside and demanding targets. I think there's a chance that displays red zone skills, so could be a touchdown guy. I think there's a chance he's the wide receiver 1 for the Patriots this year and for Mac Jones. I think there is a true chance. So I think getting him super late in drafts is well worth it. Could think about grabbing big Pat Freiermuth there to pair with Cole Kmet. Not sure I really want to or need to. My turn again. I think there's guys like a J.D. McKissick I can wait on. Do I grab a second quarterback with Tua? I'm going to go with the guy I'm all in on this season, and I'm clicking out of it, Jahan Dotson. And instead of going on a Jahan Dotson rant, I've made videos you can find on TikTok or YouTube. If you type in at P2W Fantasy on Twitter and type in Dotson, you can just find different takes on him. But just first round draft pick, high draft capital, killing it at camp, killing it at OTAs, getting respect from Carson Wentz and the coaching staff. Super productive. Matt Harmon's reception perception had him graded like super, super high. I'm really high on Dotson. He's my Elijah Moore of this season. So don't mind that pick at all. Maybe could have, grabbed Tua right there, but I guess we're just rolling with Cousins this season. Gallup, Pat, I thought about Pat Freiermuth at this pick, but I think my team might just roll with Cole Kmet as my tight end 1, and then maybe draft two flyers afterwards that can pick up for his down weeks or for bye weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks left. Probably can have like 2 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends and then roll the rest out with what we have. But I feel pretty confident about the running backs. If I was sketchy at running back, maybe I overdraft some guys later. But if I had to predict what I'm going to do, I'll probably finish here with 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 8 tight ends, 8 wide receivers, and maybe 2 or 3 tight ends. Not sure if that math actually adds up to how many picks I have left, but just kind of predicting things here. Algier's got a chance to lead the team in carries. A lot of people want to buy into, and I'm not against that. I just wonder how many touches that actually is, though. Is it a ton on a weekly basis, or is it like he's getting 13 touches and the next guy in the system is getting 12, and then the next guy's getting like 6? That's my question mark with the Atlanta running backs. I like Tua. Thought about him at my pick. Tim Patrick, again, you got to read the news. He tore his ACL, so this person just completely wasted their pick. And it doesn't need to be the case that everybody is on top of all news, but it's literally right here in the app. If it's got a red mark next to it, it's recent news. So for instance, let's go to Kenny Gainwell. What's the recent news? Set for meaningful role. So could just be coach speak, but It's news, so we got to look into it. Michael Carter's back from being banged up. You got to look into it. What's up with James Robinson? Making progress and running routes. That's good to know. So click on the news because, again, taking Tim Patrick when he tore his ACL is just a wasted pick. And that pick could have been somebody that turns into a weekly starter. I like Josh Palmer a lot. I like KJ Osborne a lot. So this should have been KJ, Osborne. Hamler, keep seeing back and forths about him looking good or maybe not being 100%. But again, don't waste picks by not looking in news on guys you click. So we got a couple spots until we're back up. Says I got a notification. You're on the clock. Oh, no. Deonta Foreman, healthy. Just got that notification. I don't think we need a tight end right at this pick. I like Nico Collins. I like George Pickens. So I'm seeing some wide receivers that I would not mind taking right here. I think Daryl Williams would be a nice handcuff to have. I think McKissick has his own sort of role there. Maybe one of those two running backs. Might need a second quarterback. I'm going to go with Nico. Do I want to go Nico Collins or George Pickens? I already got Deontay Johnson, so maybe I don't need to go George Pickens. Let's go with the chance that big wide receiver, vertical threat Nico Collins has some splash weeks this coming season. I had a sleeper video out on him. So just going with guys. Honestly, I'm going with a lot of the guys I've been pounding the table on this offseason, which I feel like some people will say to try to diversify your drafting, but that's all right. We can stick with our guys. I think that's perfectly fine. Running back wise, I don't think we need a bite on anybody right here. Gesicki, Tunyon, don't think so there. Week 14, maybe I go and grab Jameis Winston, who I think is going to have some big weeks. Because if we look at the system for Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, and Alvin Kamara, that's a great system. And I got Beastie in the comments. Probably missed that one. It's 10:37. 10 minutes ago. My bad, Beastie. Good stuff, though. But, yeah, like I said, Jameis Winston, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave in no specific order. That's a great system to have. Just hoping that, he was, I'm not going to say he was completely conservative, but he obviously wasn't airing it out like he did in Tampa. So I think that's good and bad. Maybe good for the fact that he's going to be more competent. Maybe not as good for the fact that maybe he's a bit limited on his ceiling. But I think he's set up to be very successful. And I think he's a guy that is a QB that I'd be comfortable saying can smash that ADP in this coming season, just because, again, we've seen him have a really good fantasy season when he threw all those interceptions. And we've also seen him last season, and we've also seen the greatness out of Michael Thomas, who hopefully is back. The veteran Jarvis Landry's had plenty of good games. Chris Olave is a good prospect. So I'm in on Jameis Winston. I like that pick. We're done at quarterbacks. We need at least one more tight end. At least one more running back. So if I can go 1-1-1, so 3 picks, do I have those picks? That's the big question here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 picks. So good. So we'll for sure go another running back, another wide receiver, another tight end. And then at the end of the draft, we'll see who is left at what. And maybe, depending on who's on the board, that'll be our draft order. But time will tell. Appreciate anybody who's tuned in. I wonder if it's the middle of the day. I wonder if people are actually watching or not. Doesn't matter, though. I love doing this. So why not take the time, have some free time, do a stream, hopefully win some cash down the road, and just have fun drafting. Again, Underdog. Use the promo code P2W Fantasy. It's an actual partner of mine. actual partner of mine. I know everybody has a promo code where, you share it to your friends and they get like a $10 back or something. I had a meeting with them and everything, and it's a partnership I was excited about. It's been going great so far. So love doing these streams, especially if there's the chance that people sign up with the promo code. I think it's fun to play, especially if you can do drafts for like $3. This one's $5. There's some out there that are $3, so why not? All right, so we're a couple picks away. Maybe not. Get caught like that. It almost looked like I was up there. Let's see if there's any surprises that went late on the board so far. So Jamal Williams just went. Justin Jackson's in that system now. Gus Edwards went. Not sure his injury timeline. Mac Jones off the board. Wonder if any other quarterbacks since I went. Yeah, so at my Jameis Winston pick, after that, it went Matt Ryan, Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones. So if I waited, I might have been shit out of luck for quarterbacks. I probably would have been okay with like Jared Goff, but I think there's more upside in Jameis Winston. Jared Goff's got a nice system too, though. Wan'Dale Robinson. A lot of reports about them being creative with him. I think that's a great pick, especially if you're seeing like, Isaiah McKenzie. Is he the starting slot? Is it Crowder? I guess McKenzie's looking good, but maybe is Corey Davis the third option now? I do like George Pickens. Think he fell a bit. But Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, can establish himself a decent role. So we whiffed on running backs. Not whiffed, but we passed on them. Let's see who's left. I like Daryl Williams. I like J.D. McKissick. So that's going to be one of the two guys we end up picking. I like Evan Ingram too. So I wouldn't mind Evan Ingram. Actually, do they have the same buy? No. I wouldn't mind Evan Ingram after taking one of the best available running backs. Ingram, was appealing to me if Kamara had that suspension, but I don't think that's likely the case right now, or it might be not the case until later in the season. All I know is the beginning of the year looks brighter than it did for Alvin Kamara. We're on the board. So Daryl Williams, who I think is more of a handcuff, or J.D. McKissick, which I think is more of a standalone value guy. And it's half-point PPR, so he doesn't have the exact upside that we want. I'm going to go J.D. McKissick. I talked about him yesterday a ton. Had a bunch of good fantasy weeks for PPR the last 2 seasons. I think here's the stat for you. 10 out of 27 games played the last 2 seasons. J.D. McKissick's had, I thought it was like 16 fantasy points or something like that. Something crazy. So for half point, not as high of an upside, but, this late in drafts, give me a guy that has standalone value versus just a handcuff, because I'd rather have a guy have a big week here, a couple quiet weeks, then another big week, than a guy that's just, on my bench the whole season waiting for an injury. I don't want to just bank on injuries. So I'm going to I know there's been drops and, camp talk about Dan Arnold, but I'm going to go with Evan Ingram, who I think is a sleeper tight end for this year, especially if he develops the connection with Trevor Lawrence that we would like to see for fantasy purposes. Obviously, he hasn't really delivered how we wanted him to since the rookie season, but, with nobody that's a solidified stud, Tyreek Hill went to Miami. I know Christian Kirk went to Jacksonville, but that's literally their biggest and most expensive signing. It's not to the same level. So I feel like there's the potential for a lot of other guys to step up in this system, including, late round guys like Zay Jones. I mean, it's kind of up for grabs who's going to have what in Jacksonville and how that's going to go. So I don't mind taking a chance on Ingram. I got 2 guys that are maybe not the Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce's of the world, but can support my team enough for me to take picks elsewhere. I think that's kind of the decision you have to make at the tight end position. Do I take it early and miss out on some other skill players, or do I wait a while and then, hopefully get some guys that have solidified target volume in their offense? And that's what I look for tight ends. I don't want to chase touchdowns, which you might say is a good thing to do in best ball, but I'd rather guys that have a consistent role. Dubs. AJ Green, I think, is a guy people always fade too, but last year. I forget the stat, but in the games he was healthy for Arizona, if you look at the fantasy weeks for PPR, he actually had some nice weeks. And no DeAndre Hopkins, he can continue to have a couple, good weeks early on. So if he gives you 4 good games for the season that are like 15 plus fantasy points in the PPR world, I'm not talking about the half point, which is this. Maybe it's worth it. I think Fant's a guy that used to go like somewhere between 7 and 10, and now he's pushed further and further down the board because of the QB situation and maybe because of, DK and Lockett. Daryl's there. He's a guy I thought about going, at this spot. So again, if JD McKissick went before, that's fine just because I need to fill my team to what I want it to be. So for sure need another wide receiver. Then after that, I'll determine if I want to go running back, wide receiver, tight end, I guess. It depends who's on the board for that last pick. But the next pick for sure, I think I'm going to go wide receiver. I don't need a quarterback. I'm good there. I probably don't need another tight end. I mean, maybe these two guys don't have the highest of upsides, but I feel like they'll do what I need them to do for my lineup. How many picks do we have? It'll be my last 2 picks, I believe. I keep looking all the time, but I feel like sometimes they don't show you everything. Yep, last 2 picks. It's almost been 50 minutes, just over 45. Again, using some free time here to do this, and I think it's a fun way to spend some time, especially if there's the potential for a decent return and payout. Getting closer here. Let's check out the wide receivers. So really thin. OBJ, I'm not sure what the recent news remains on Rams' radar. Two days ago, got hurt in the Super Bowl, so I don't know what that means for his return to action. I'm not sure if I want to wait for like the very end of the season for him to be ready. David Bell, could he win the job? As the number 2 wide receiver in that offense. It's interesting if, especially if it's later on in the season when Deshaun Watson's playing. I do like Zay Jones. He had a lot of good games for the Raiders at the end of their season and was getting a ton of targets. So I would think about him. And then later, it's just like a bunch of big dart throws. And how many picks away? We still got a handful of picks away. I don't know if there's anybody else I like need to make sure I get at this point. I mean, a lot of handcuffs or like guys that are gonna. I mean, Chris Evans. People say it is the the Mixon handcuff over the veteran in their system, Deonta Foreman. I think is a handcuff over Chuba, Zamir White. Probably the next guy to be taking the workload, even though Kenyon Drake, I think, is doing well on his recovery. Cleared for start of camp. That's good news for him. I think I'm juggling David Bell or Zay Jones. And I might try to see if David Bell. How many running backs do I have? 5 running backs. And I only need to start 2. Let's go David Bell with the hopes that he wins the job in the second half of the season when it's actually Deshaun Watson under center. That's going to be my thoughts there for David Bell. Austin Hooper's not a bad pick too. If I want to consider adding another tight end to the room. I got 8 wide receivers, 2-5, 8-2. Interesting build. I like Hooper and Jordan. I do like Zay Jones. Maybe Chris Evans would be a good guy to grab. I guess if I waited all the way till now, I would have Davis Mills, Wentz, or Goff. Big decision here to make. Big decision. Might just overload on wide receivers in this one. So I guess if I waited, that's another thing I would have done differently. Instead of grabbing Evan Ingram, I probably could have grabbed Brevin Jordan at the end here. Still probably can, but don't really need to. I do like Zay Jones, like I said before. Do I want another running back, though? I think I'm going to go with Zay Jones. Hopefully some big plays for the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. Bunch of guys in the slot. I think that he has a chance to play on the outside. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. We don't really need to finish the last couple picks here, but looking at my team all the way to the right here, which I can make this bigger. Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, running quarterback position, running back position, Cook, Swift, Elijah Moore, Penny, J.D. McKissick. Wide receivers, DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks, Treylon Burks, Devante Parker, Jahan Dotson, Nico Collins, David Bell, Zay Jones. Tight ends, Cole Kmet, Evan Ingram. Hopefully this is the $200,000 winning lineup. If not, then give me my money back and double it. Thank you guys for tuning in here.